Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar. My name is Zishan Qureshi. I'm the director at INIT, and I'll be your host today. Before we start, just a few reminders. Do not forget to mute your audio, especially when the speaker is speaking. Please feel free to ask questions anytime through the Q&A option available. Our speakers will be available to answer your questions at the end of the session. And since we are eager to find out how we can improve our future webinars, please note that we will be asking you to participate in a quick survey later. Now let me run you through today's agenda. We are honored to have Das with us today. He is Head of Business Development, Big Data and Analytics ASEAN at Amazon Web Services. And he will be speaking about the core topic of today's event, that is turning data into cash. Then we will have a Q&A session with Das. After the Q&A session, we will have our special guest speaker, Hassaan Sadiq, the CTO and co-founder of Grocer app, who will be sharing his experience about the data journey of Grocer app with Amazon Web Services. Then we will have another Q&A session with our guest speaker. Lastly, the closing remarks. And we highly encourage everyone to participate. Now, a little bit about INIT. We are a technology company which develops software products for different industries. We are AWS consulting partners and have been working closely with AWS startups team in Pakistan. So far, we have performed consultation and launched more than 15 startups in Pakistan covering different industry verticals. These are the few startups with which we are working currently in different sort of phase of projects. Now I would like to share a short video in which the founder of a Pakistani startup, WebEx, has shared some of his views.
My name is Waleed Masood and I am the founder and CEO of Decimals. We are one of the pioneers of cloud e-commerce in Pakistan with our software platform WebEx. WebEx is a cloud e-commerce platform that enables and helps retail businesses to go online in no time. It's a one-stop solution for e-commerce, which has all the features you need to run a successful online store. The platform offers a full pack of powerful e-commerce features and marketing tools and is integrated with all the top-of-the-line payment solutions and courier services, so that in just a few clicks, anybody could easily set up a store and start selling online. WebEx powers 600 plus online stores in Pakistan, with nearly 1500 new online stores signing up every month. We have a monthly traffic of more than 1 million visitors and 6 to 7 million page views. And we are targeting to bring 10,000 small and medium-sized businesses online in Pakistan by the end of the year. With more and more businesses moving to e-commerce, we needed to expand in terms of infrastructure so that we could easily scale up without compromising performance and uptime. And data security was another concern which needed to be tightened up at multiple areas. We found Amazon Web Services to be the best option for us. It offers the reliability on performance and security that we need and offers a vast set of services that covers everything that we need to expand and scale up in the near future. With AWS, we are currently using a combination of EC2, RDS, S3 and other microservices, which really helped us improve our system's performance by more than 70%, especially during the peak hours when traffic spikes. And we also added multiple layers of security to make sure our clients' and customers' data is fully secure and regularly backed up. Yes, our users are really happy with the results, and we are planning to implement even more AWS services with WebEx in the near future, which includes AWS CloudFront, distributed Elastic Cache, and most of all, we are looking into AWS AI and machine learning tools to improve our e-commerce process and provide a more personalized shopping experience to the end user. Working with INIT, we have found a trusted technology partner who has helped us align the right solutions to achieve our business goals And we are feeling more confident, more focused, and working on some great new ideas which look more promising than ever before.
Okay, let's now start our today's program. Das has over 18 years of experience in the data analytics domain. He is currently leading business development for AWS Analytics and Big Data in ASEAN. Before joining AWS, Das has worked with leading GSIs such as HP, Wipro, and LGI and helped ASEAN customers in their analytics journey. More recently, he has helped customers in ASEAN build a modern data platform on AWS and enabled data democratization and data monetization initiatives. He holds an MBA degree and a bachelor's degree in engineering. Without further delay, let us all welcome Das.
Thank you, Jishan, for the kind introduction. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Jishan, once again for the kind introduction. So in my current role, I work with customers across industry verticals, ranging from startups to enterprises to ISV providers across Southeast Asia. So what I'll be sharing with you today is based on my experience working with startups in the region, what is a typical journey that they go through, and what are some of the AWS services that are enabling outcomes for startups in the region. So I have quite a few slides, but would love to keep this session interactive. So please continue to type in your questions into the Q&A box of this webinar, and I'll take help from Zishan to read out the questions so we can keep this as an interactive session. With that, I'll dive straight in. So I wanted to start by sharing with you my point of view in terms of how we see startups at various stages of analytics maturity. The very first stage of analytics maturity is where a startup is using data and analytics for running the business. So for example, looking at things like what are my sales revenue trends over the last 2 years? What is my forecasted sales? What is the trend on net promoter score and customer satisfaction, right? So operational insights on to help the startup run their business better. So that's typically where most startups start. At the next level of maturity is where we see startups focusing on embedded analytics. What we mean by that is where the startup goes beyond just using analytics for running the business, but they actually embed analytics and machine learning into their core product offering. So one example of this is a startup called Ergonomy, which provides software for the retail industry. So what they really wanted to do was get into the next level where they could embed machine learning into their offering so that a retailer who is using Ergonomy software is able to engage shoppers with a more personalized shopping experience, similar to what WebEx just explained. So that's the second level of maturity, where you go beyond using analytics just for running your business to truly embedding analytics and machine learning into the startup's product. So that's the second level of maturity. The most advanced usage of analytics and machine learning is what we call as data monetization. So this is where a startup collects the data about customers, and then they anonymize the data, get insights from the data, which they are able to sell to other enterprises. So this insights actually generates money for the startup, which we term as data monetization. So that's the most advanced example. And here I'll be sharing an example of a startup, which is called Mobile Wala, where they have used insights from the data that they collect to generate additional revenue streams. So truly turning data into cash. So those are the three levels of maturity that we see in startups. And at this time, I would like to pause and do a quick poll. Zishan, if you could have the first poll question. So what I really wanted to get a feedback from you is, what stage of analytics are you at today? Are you using analytics for stage 1, which is to run the business? Or stage 2, which is embedded analytics? Or doing more advanced data monetization use cases. If you could take a few seconds to respond to this poll question. Okay, so this pattern is pretty much similar to what I've seen across countries. So most startups are at stage one, which is using insights to run the business. And some have started embedding analytics into their product, and very few are actually doing data monetization. So yeah, these results are consistent across countries. With that, I would like to move on to the second poll question, which is 1 year from now, as in with support from INIT, with support from AWS, where do you aspire to be in 1 year's time? Do you still want to continue at the stage that you are today, or your aspiration is to get to a stage where you're actually able to turn your data into cash and monetize the insights that you're collecting today? Okay, that's pretty interesting. So 50% of the people's of the startups' aspiration is to get to the data monetization stage, so which is good to know. So out of the 75% of startups who are currently at run the stage, 50%, like half of them would like to move on to embedded analytics and data monetization. So that's really good. Thanks for taking the time to participate. With that, I'll jump into my core presentation today. Okay, so I wanted to start by sharing an interesting anecdote from Amazon.com, which is now a like $200 billion startup. So Amazon, what is really interesting is there are billions of page views every day on Amazon.com, with people shopping for books or music or grocery and various other products and services. What is really interesting is 30% of these page views are actually driven by personalized recommendation. What this means is if I'm buying a book on Amazon.com, it recommends to me that people like me who bought book A also bought book B and book C. And these personalized recommendations drive 30% of page views on Amazon.com, which translates to almost 11.5% of incremental business for Amazon.com. So that's a great example of the usage of analytics and machine learning to transform the shopping experience, make it more personalized, which in turn generates additional business for Amazon.com. And over the last 25 years, Amazon has made significant investments in analytics and machine learning. To give an example, on the bottom right, you see the Amazon Echo device, which is powered by the Alexa virtual assistant. One of the patents that Amazon has done in the area of machine learning is to be able to recognize a customer's voice, right? So for example, if I have a cough and cold and Alexa, based on my voice, is able to detect that I probably have a cold, then Alexa recommends remedies to me, for example, chicken soup. I can even buy cough medicine on Alexa, which will be delivered to my doorstep. So that's an example of using machine learning and deep learning to really go to the segment of one. So Alexa is engaging with me, Das, as a customer, not as a segment of customers. So that's one example. And the investments that Amazon has made in analytics and machine learning, so the same analytics and machine learning technology are available for AWS customers as well. As an example, Netflix is one of the customers who use the AWS analytics and machine learning technology in their product offering. So for example, if you're watching Netflix and Netflix recommends to you that you may also be interested in show A or show B, depending on what your viewing preference is. So that personalized recommendation is driven by using the AWS personalized machine learning offering. So that's just one example. And as I said, over the last 25 years, we have the technology that has been matured at Amazon.com is now used by AWS customers. So as you can see, we have over 10,000 customers who have built their data and analytics platform on AWS. So these range from enterprises in highly regulated industries like global bank, government agencies, etc., and a range of startups across various industry verticals. Okay, so with that, I spoke about the 3 stages of maturity, And the second stage of maturity is where startups embed analytics and machine learning into their product offering. So one example of a startup which has moved on to the stage of embedded analytics is a Singapore headquartered startup which is called Parcel Perform. So what Parcel Perform does is they help e-commerce merchants to deliver a better post-purchase experience. So they have over 50 people spread across Singapore, Vietnam, and Europe. And out of this, 25 plus people include developers and product managers. So the core problem that Parcel Perform solves is the whole e-commerce experience. So currently, if an e-commerce merchant is selling products that are shipped across countries, so as a customer, for me to get a single view of my delivery is extremely difficult. I may have to track my delivery from UPS, which may have shipped the product from US. Then there could be a local delivery partner, which is doing the next step of the transfer of the logistics delivery. So it leads to a very clumsy user experience. As a customer, what I would truly like is a very simple view that tells me in one place exactly where my order is, right? Has it crossed at the sorting center? Has it been delivered? Is it en route? What time I can expect delivery of my product or service? So that's the experience that customers truly desire. But interestingly, less than 5% of e-commerce providers are able to provide an interface like this. And that's where Parcel Perform came in, and they thought that they would be able to work with e-commerce providers and help them improve their end customers' experience. So what Parcel Perform vision was that they wanted to use AI and machine learning techniques to solve this problem of giving better experience to customers. So the reason they thought AI could solve this problem is, one, logistics processes follow a very repeating pattern. So whilst the global supply chains are vast, but there is a consistent pattern in terms of how deliveries have happened over the past from city A to city B, for example. And also there is a lot of data point that can be used. So e-commerce merchants and carriers are already capturing the data that is required, right? And Parcel Perform delivers hundreds of parcels across many carriers. So they have over 100 million parcels, right? So they have a huge amount of data that they thought that they could mine and use the insights to improve the shopping experience. But when Parcel Perform actually went about this project, they found that the real world was very, very different from what they thought. So for example, suddenly somewhere there could be a worker strike that affects the logistics delivery supply chain. Or there could be a failed pickup attempt. The logistics provider has come to the customer, but customer is not at home. Or there could be customs delays, all of which make the process of modeling the delivery time extremely complicated. There are just a whole number of variables that affect the delivery time. So that's where Parcel Perform thought that rather than attempting this complex project by themselves, they wanted to work with AWS, not just from a technology perspective, but also in building the machine learning models, which will help them solve these extremely difficult problems. Okay. And the process that Parcel Perform went through is that they worked with the AWS machine learning lab team. And over a period of 6 months, they worked very closely together. So step one was essentially to do the feature engineering to get the data that was required to standardize the data. And then in step two, using AWS SageMaker, Parcel Perform worked with the ML Solutions Lab to build the machine learning pipelines. And then they went into the third step, which is to actually build the business logic, to look at the customer experience and predict the error in the delivery time. And then based on real world results, they were able to fine tune the model over 6 months. And in terms of the outcomes that Parcel Perform has shared publicly, so the first KPI that Parcel Perform was able to improve was first notification after checkout. So if I'm a customer, I'm shopping on an e-commerce platform. When I check out with the help of Parcel Perform's technology, the e-commerce provider is able to tell me with 91% accuracy and within a range of 1.21 days when I as a customer will get the product that I have ordered on the e-commerce platform. So that was a significant improvement. The next KPI that Parcel Perform was able to improve was out of delivery, as in the product has already been shipped and it is about to be delivered. So that particular KPI, Parcel Perform was able to increase to 96% accuracy. So within a range of 1.03 days, I as a customer can know that my delivery will be coming within 1.03 days of the quoted date. So that's a significant improvement for almost all the e-commerce providers that Parcel Perform works with. So that's one startup that I wanted to share with you, which is at the second stage of maturity, which is where they have embedded analytics and machine learning into their core product. With that, I'll move on to another startup, which is called Mobile Wallah. And Mobile Wallah essentially is, again, headquartered in Singapore. And what Mobile Wallah does is they are able to collect billions of data points about customers who are browsing on their mobile apps. And what Mobile Wallah does is they're able to mine these insights and then generate insights and then sell it to leading enterprises, which generates additional revenue for Mobile Wallah. So to give an example of the specific requirements that they had. So one requirement that Mobile Wallah had was they wanted to leverage cutting edge machine learning and AI techniques to analyze consumer behavior on a global scale. So as consumers globally are browsing on the mobile app, they're collecting insights about the consumers. So they collect over 25 billion observations per day, so which translates to almost 25 terabytes of data. So Mobile Wallah has insights about what people are saying about the mobile apps, which location the app is being used, etc. And using these insights, Mobile Wallah is able to build a profile of different kinds of people. And they're able to monetize these insights by selling it to larger companies. So they're truly turning the data that they're collecting into cash. To enable this, some of the solution components that they have built on AWS include a data lake where they have over 5 petabytes of data. And this includes insights on customers' demographics, behavioral data, what kind of phone customers are using, what is their householding pattern, their network, etc. And then they have a data monetization platform and infrastructure, which generates the customer segments, build the audience for a particular campaign, and they also get device insights. So that's a solution that they built on AWS. And in terms of the business outcomes, so one is as an enterprise, they have access to an audience visualization tool provided by Mobile Wallah. And with this audience visualization tool, an enterprise can get insights on the plan, the audience segments, the places of interest, the demography and brand propensity of the desired audience, etc. So all these insights are extremely helpful for leading enterprises. And with these insights, Mobile Wallah is also able to predict the age and gender using the user's historical data. And they are also able to provide insights such as what is the brand affinity, what is the brand propensity, depending on the places of interest, visitation, historical data, etc. And to quote Anindya, who's the CEO of Mobile Wallah, he says that let's say a major brand comes to Mobile Wallah and says that I want to address females who are interested in health and fitness. So what Mobile Wallah would do is that they would look at their consumers who are using fitness and nutrition related apps. So that's one subsegment of people who are interested in health and fitness. Within that subsegment, they would then look at within that subsegment who are browsing, let's say, apps such as Cosmopolitan, which provides a clue that potentially it's the female segment. So by correlating insights such as that, Mobile Wallah is able to provide enterprises and say that, okay, here are 10,000 customers that you can target, right? And then that generates an additional revenue stream for Mobile Wallah. So that's a great example of a customer that's actually using the insights, anonymizing it, and selling it to leading enterprises to generate additional revenue streams. With that, I'll just spend on a few minutes talking about the AWS analytics and machine learning services that are enabling the outcomes that I spoke about, starting from helping startups run their business to embedding analytics into your product, and even going to the extent of monetizing data. So on the left, we have the sources of data. So you might have structured data, which could be in your startup system. For example, if you have an order management system with a relational database. So that's a source of structured data. You may even have semi-structured data. For example, the data that you collect from, let's say, a mobile device could come in JSON format, which is semi-structured. Or you could even have unstructured data. So for example, customers are calling your contact center or sending you an email. So that's a source of unstructured data, all of which has a huge amounts of insights about your customers. So then we move on to the tools that AWS provides, which is to ingest the data. So whether you want to ingest structured data, semi-structured data, or unstructured data, we have the tools that enable you to ingest all these data points. And you could use a tool like AWS Glue if you want to do extract, transform, and load of data from source to the data lake in batch. If you want to do real-time data streaming, you could use Amazon Kinesis or Amazon Managed Kafka, which is also called MSK. And recently we have come up with another product which is called Data Brew. So Data Brew essentially is a very user-friendly software that enables business users to ingest data from Excel sheets, join all these Excel sheets without knowing SQL. So without any SQL knowledge, a business user is able to transform the data and get it into a format in which they can get insights. So those are some of the services that AWS has to make it simple to ingest data. And all of this data then lands on Amazon S3, which is by far the most popular offering to create data lakes on the cloud. For any analytics and machine learning project, governance and security is fundamental. So here we have an offering which is called AWS Lake Formation. So what Lake Formation does is it provides you a tool to create a secure data lake in a matter of days, as opposed to weeks or even months with traditional approaches. So the reason Lake Formation is able to accelerate the creation of the secure data lake is because of a couple of reasons. So one is with Lake Formation, you define the security and access control to the data once in the data lake. And then the security and access controls are then inherited by all downstream analytics offerings. So that's one key acceleration. The second key offering that Lake Formation has is we have the feature which is called Blueprint. So for example, you have a Oracle database from which you are ingesting data into S3. So you would create that as one data pipeline. And then if you have another Oracle database from which you want to ingest data into S3, you could reuse the blueprint that you created earlier, which significantly accelerates the time to market for building data pipelines. And with Lake Formation, you could also create an enterprise-wide data catalog. And once you create this enterprise-wide data catalog, it is inherited by all downstream AWS analytics services. So that's another key building block to help you monetize your data, to help you embed analytics in a secure manner. And when it comes to analytics, AWS offers the broadest and deepest set of services. If you have workloads around, let's say, data warehousing, if you want to build a 360-degree view of your customers, so that would be created on Amazon Redshift. If you want to provide a tool to your users to run SQL on the data warehouse, on the unstructured data in the data lake, you could use Amazon Athena, which is a serverless pay-as-you-use tool. If you want to build dashboards, and these dashboards could be for running your business, for example, then you could use Amazon QuickSight to build your BI dashboards. We also have a number of startups who are using Amazon QuickSight and embedding it into their product. So as a customer of a startup, they have access to QuickSight, which is embedded into the startup's application. And then QuickSight is also embedded with a lot of the AI and machine learning solutions that AWS provides. And again, QuickSight is completely pay as you go. So if I'm a user who uses a report only end of the month for 5 minutes, I just pay for the 5 minutes of usage. I don't pay a fixed monthly fee. Similarly, with Amazon QuickSight, we also have what we call a session-based pricing. So let's say you have tens of thousands of customers and they want to use QuickSight on your product that you have. So there could be hundreds and thousands of sessions that are generated. So we have a session-based pricing, which makes it extremely cost efficient for you to provide insights to your end customers. Right? So that's Amazon QuickSight. Apart from that, we have a range of AI and machine learning services. We have over 25 API-driven AI and machine learning services. So with these API-driven services, you don't need to have any machine learning or knowledge. You can just call the API, and then that API has pre-built models that would provide you with the results. So as an example, I mentioned Amazon Personalize. So Amazon Personalize actually uses, it's an API driven. You don't have to build any models. So you feed the data and then you call Amazon Personalize, and then it would give you the recommendations. If you really want to get to the level where you want to build your own machine learning models, then we have Amazon SageMaker, which provides you a user-friendly tools across the complete machine learning development pipeline, right from training data sets to building and training our models and actually deploying the models. So all that whole pipeline of machine learning is simplified with SageMaker. Okay, so that was just a very high-level overview of the AWS analytics and machine learning services. And in subsequent discussions, we can certainly get into more details. Okay. So with that, I'd just like to spend a few minutes talking about beyond the technology that AWS provides, what are some of the other ways in which we can work with startups. So here I wanted to call out a couple of programs that we have. So one program is what we call as an AWS Data Lab, and the second one is an Amazon Machine Learning Solutions Lab. So what these offerings do is that we work with startups to identify a business problem, right? So for example, if you're a company like WebEx providing, let's say, offerings for retailers, and you want to embark on a journey to provide a personalized shopping experience. So that would involve ingesting data in real time and then building the machine learning models. So what we would do is that we would work with you to scope out the use case and then break it into a minimum viable product. And then with the AWS Data Lab team, we would co-build the minimum viable product within a period of 2 weeks or less. And similarly, if you have a business problem which requires machine learning, the Machine Learning Solutions Lab would work with you to build a model that can be deployed within a few weeks. So these are a couple of programs that a lot of startups have leveraged to fast track their process of getting skills on AWS analytics and machine learning, and also fast tracking the outcomes that they can achieve. With that, I'll close with the call to action. So we are here to help. So please do reach out to INIT or your AWS account manager to schedule a discussion with one of the analytics specialists in my team. Second is to think big, but start small. So identify a high value business problem that can be solved with analytics. And then we can help you break that big, hairy problem into something that you can develop within a couple of weeks and then get started on your analytics journey. And the third is to leverage accelerators such as AWS Data Lab and ML Solutions Lab to jumpstart your analytics journey. So that's all that I wanted to share with you today. Okay, with that, I'll just move on to the third and the last poll question, Zishan. Okay, so if you could take a few minutes to respond to this question. Would you want to know more about how AWS Analytics and AI/ML services can help you deliver your business outcomes? So the options are, yes, how can AWS help me identify and prioritize use cases as a first step? Or do you need support in option 2, which is, I've already identified the use cases. How can AWS help me build a pilot project? Or third could be, yes, I've already implemented a pilot project. How can AWS help me scale my analytics project across the enterprise, across the startup? So please take a few seconds to respond to the poll question. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think the majority of respondents need help in terms of prioritizing the use cases. So yep, certainly we'll be able to help you on the next steps, and I'll take help from Zishan to see how my team can help you identifying the use cases, or even if you've already identified the use cases, how you can help to build a pilot. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so that's all that I wanted to share with you today. So I am here, and I would at this stage like to reach out to Zishan to check if there are any questions on the chat window. If you haven't typed in your chat window question yet into the chat window, please feel free to type in your questions, and I'll be happy to take some time to respond to your questions. Over to you, Zishan.
Thank you, Das. Can you please stop sharing the screen so that I can assign to someone else?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, now let's have a Q&A session with Das. And I would request Olivier to join us as well in the Q&A session.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. The first one, how is machine learning differing at maturity level 2, embedded analytics, to maturity level 3, data monetization? Das, are you taking this up?
Sure. I'm happy to take that up. So that's I would say, an interesting perspective, right? So when we think about stage 2 and stage 3, so so both of them would have aspects of machine learning, right? So I would not say that the algorithms that you need to develop in step 3 would be more difficult or more complex than the algorithms in step 2. So the way I'm looking at it is, let's say a startup like Algonomy, right? So if they want to offer a very personalized shopping experience to retailers, so what they could potentially do is they may not even need to build a machine learning model. All they would need to do is collect the customer data of, let's say I'm browsing on a retailer's e-commerce website. So in real time, Algonomy is able to ingest the data, call the Amazon personalized service, return the results, which then offers me a relevant offer. So that's one example where we could solve use case step 2 on embedded analytics without developing very sophisticated models. When it comes to monetizing data, so that is probably a stage where you may not be able to use just the API driven services. You may actually need to build a machine learning model which will help you solve that particular problem. So that's how I would look at it. But that's an interesting perspective, as in it doesn't mean that in all cases, the machine learning models in embedded analytics would be simple, or we could even have a situation where your embedded analytics problem is so complex that it would be probably more sophisticated than a data monetization problem. So that's how I would answer. But that's a great question. Thanks for that.
Okay. The next one is there any benchmark to the amount of data required for implementing ML in systems? That is, we understand quality of data is important, but is there any baseline benchmark to how much a product needs to have matured before we should bring in ML?
Can you just repeat the last part? As in, was the question about the volume of data?
He's asking what is the minimum amount of data which is required to actually implement an ML workload?
Okay. So it is, I would say it is very dependent on the use case. But as a general principle, if you have 2 years of data, then you would take care of seasonality, right? So for example, there is a public holiday in Pakistan. If you have 2 years of data, then the demand spike that would happen during the public holiday would be accounted for in your data. Having said that, there could be, let's say, like the example of parcel perform. So there they had to increase the accuracy up to 96% in some cases, right? So in that scenario, they had almost like 100 million deliveries data that they had collected over the last couple of hours, last couple of years, and they used that to improve the forecasting. So the answer is very much dependent on your use case. But if you are able to have 2 years of data, you can be reasonably sure that you'll be able to solve most of the use cases.
Okay. The next one, what is the criteria to engage with AWS Data Lab?
Okay. So the AWS Data Lab is a complementary offering. So it's an investment from AWS. So there are a few prerequisites that we ask, right, before we invest in a data lab. So the first is we work with you to identify a business problem that is important for you, right? It's not a science project that you just want to test out, right? It's a business problem that will actually impact and help you solve a real business problem. So that's the first prerequisite. The second prerequisite is that it's a co-build initiative. So what that means is we will work with you and the AWS Data Lab team to solve the business problem. So we need a minimum of around 4 people from your startup who can work with the AWS Data Lab team to solve the business problem over 7 to 10 working days. So that's the second prerequisite. And as part of the data lab, what we would do is we would spend time upfront to train the 4 or 5 people who would be involved in the data lab engagement on the AWS analytics and machine learning technologies. So that's how I would answer that.
Okay. And in connection to the same, there is one query that how does AWS charge for services they provide to startups, in particular, the AWS Data Lab and Amazon ML Solutions?
Okay. So both AWS Data Lab as well as ML Solutions Lab are complementary offerings. So for a startup, there is no dollar that is charged to you. What we do seek is the prerequisites that I mentioned, right? Which is investment of your people's time, at least 4 developers. And secondly, taking the time to identify a real business problem as opposed to something that you just want to test out out of the curiosity. So that's how I'd answer that.
Okay, okay. There's a last one. How do I build a data lake, and it is necessary to have a data lake before building analytics solution on AWS?
Okay, so the way I would answer that is even before we talk about do you need a data lake, do I need like a data warehouse, do I need machine learning? Typically, the approach that we follow in Amazon is what we call as working backwards. So we would start with, as a startup, what is the impact that you want to have on your end customer? Are you trying to improve their customer experience? Are you trying to provide them information? So we start with by looking at what is the outcome that you want to provide for your end customers. So that's step 1. From there, we would work backwards to get to that outcome. What are the analytics use cases that would need to be solved? And for those analytics use cases, what the solution would look like. So in most cases, generally speaking, you would need a data lake on which you have the data that is required to solve the business problem, right? And then once you have the data on the data lake, then we would look at, okay, do you need Amazon personalized to personalize the shopping experience for your customers? Or do you need to build a machine learning model with Redshift? Do you want to embed analytics into your product, in which case you might need QuickSight, right? So that's typically the process that we go through to work backwards from your outcomes and then work to the solution that we propose to you.
Okay. I think this is it. Thank you very much, Das, for your time and a very detailed presentation. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next speaker. Hassaan Sadiq is the CTO and co-founder of Grocer app. He has been on the front of making Grocer app engineering and data teams scale when its infrastructure used to handle only a few thousand requests as it starts 4 years ago to now handling up to 100 million plus requests per month. From 2018 to 2020, he also led the growth team and has been able to leverage data science and analytics to reduce the CSE and scale up the acquisitions massively with maintaining a healthy retention cohort. He holds a computer science degree from Fast Newsys. Let us all welcome Hassaan Sadiq from Grocer app.
Thank you, Dishan, for the warm welcome. Let me share my screen. Just a second. So, hi everyone. I am Hassaan Sadiq, co-founder and CTO at Grocer app. So today I'll be sharing a brief journey of Grocer app. So Grocer app was started in 2016, and we aim to build the biggest organized grocery retail chain in Pakistan that delivers the most savings on grocery shopping to the masses. So this is our basic mission, which we are trying to solve in the past 4 years. So as you can see, our core focus is delivering the most savings to the grocery customers. Because in our past 4 years experience, we have run a lot of surveys, we have analyzed the customer behaviors, and based on all of these market research, we have found that Pakistani market is extremely price driven, and the customers are, in their whole month's spending, they spend almost 60 to 70% of their spending on the grocery. The average person which is earning like 50,000, 60,000 or less than that, they are spending majority of their earnings on the groceries, and they're extremely conscious about the pricing of grocery. So in order to scale up to the masses, we feel that we have to deliver the best pricing to the customers. So that is why we are operating in 4 cities right now, and in Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and Faisalabad. And we have our own warehouses. Like in Lahore, we have 50,000 square feet warehouse. In Islamabad and Pindi, we have almost 20,000 square feet warehouse. In Faisalabad, again, we have 20,000 square feet fulfillment center. And the reason for these big fulfillment centers is again to deliver on our promise, which is the offering the best prices. And we sell groceries, fresh produce, meats, and we have a web application and mobile applications. And our mobile applications like Android and iOS are most downloaded applications in the grocery segment in Pakistan. We have 1 million plus installs on our iOS and Android application. Similarly, our web is mostly ranked on first or second page related to the grocery keywords on Google. And now we are expanding to multiple new cities as well. So during the past 4 years, we have seen an enormous amount of growth in our data. So in the past 2 years, just to give an example, we have grown 2x in our data. Here I'm just giving a brief summary of our requests which our infrastructure is handling. The chart on the left side is showing the resource requests which our infrastructure is handling in a quarter. So you can see in Q2 in 2019, our infrastructure was handling almost 8.2 million requests, and that has grown to almost 331 million requests in a quarter in 2021. So that's almost 42x growth. So by request, what I mean is any API call or any resource request, a customer wants to see an image or want to explore the app, and of course he had to send the application had to send the API request. So all these counts into the resource requests. Similarly, we are our applications, Android, iOS, and website are generating events like add to cart or go to checkout page or different sorts of events like install. So all these events are also growing at an exponential pace. In Q2 2019, our applications were generating almost 4.3 million events, and now they're generating 172 million events. So we need to capture all this data in order to build a strong business on top of that. So how we are doing that? Let let's discover that. So the first thing is how we are using all of this data. The first thing is we want our business teams to make better decisions. So as Das was mentioning, the first stage of leveraging the data is to empower the team to make a better decisions using their data. And how you can do that? So in our past 4 years experience, like we have grown from a team of like 20 people to now almost 600 people. And we are seeing this again and again. If you can empower a person with the right tools so that he can explore the data, he can play around with the data, and eventually he can taste the joy of like pulling information and pulling insights from the data. He will start asking all the right questions. So that's why we empower all of our departments, like growth team, category team, logistics team, and like we have 8 or 10 different departments. And we try to empower every department and every member in our teams to expose them to the most amount of data so that they can play around with that. And it eventually helps them improve their matrices. Like we have a very defined set of KPIs for every team. And when they see all of their KPIs in real time in the dashboards, of course, it directly translates to in improving their daily performance. So that's why that's the first thing we want to make sure everyone who joins Grocer app has a very good taste of data. And then again, we try to promote a very healthy culture that promotes asking the data questions. So we have an SOP in our company that anyone can actually request for new data to the engineering team. So there is no restriction, like you have to approve it from your head or anything. You can directly reach out to the engineering team, and we have a very large backlog. We try to prioritize all the requests, and sometimes some of the data requests come from the very, like you can say, the lower level of team members who are working on the floor, and they're seeing the need for a data which maybe their manager or their higher management cannot see. So it helps us prioritize the queue in a very good way when we have all of these requests coming from all the departments. So that is the first thing which we do with our data. Like we empower our business teams to make better decisions. And the second thing is we try to improve the user experience. Like we have built the AWS personalized based recommendation engine, and we will explore that later in the presentation. And the third is we help our brands to make better decisions. Like we are working with almost all the grocery brands of Pakistan. We directly purchase inventory from them. So eventually we want our partners to be successful as we are trying to be with the maximum amount of data. And that, of course, also enables us to monetize the data as well. So now I'll give you a brief examples how our different teams are leveraging the data. So I'll first deep dive into the growth team, which is the core engine that propels the company forward. Like it is the cross section, because in the modern sense, a modern startup is all about the growth. The hyper growth is the core. You can say the ability of the startup, which differentiates from the traditional businesses. So the growth team is a cross section of marketing, branding, design, engineering, data team. So growth is only possible when every single department of the company is moving into the single direction, and they are leveraging the data to move in the right direction. And in order to empower the growth team, you can say we have divided our analytics into 2 major sections. Like in fact, we have for every team we have divided our matrices into 2 major sections. One is called output metrics, and the second is input metrics. And by output metrics, we mean the result of our efforts and our you can say our efforts, like the orders, the membership subscribers, the average order value, the margin. So all of these are the output metrics, and the input metrics are the metrics which derive these output metrics. Like if you improve the input metrics, that will that should surely result in improvement of the output metric automatically. So there is a culture, we try to build a culture in our company that the more focus should be on the input matrices, not the output matrices. So there's a bit of different approach, which most of the companies take. We, of course, we monitor the orders and revenue and average order value and all the major business matrices, but we consider them as the output metrics, and so our major focus is on the input metrics. So let's discuss what are the input matrices. So for the growth team, you can see the first input metric is the customer acquisition cost. So like as I was discussing, in order to grow fast, we need to acquire more and more customers. So the cost at which we are acquiring more customers is very critical. So we need to optimize that cost. So there needs to be a very deep dive into the data analytics to find out the right acquisition channels which are bringing the healthy customers. So let's say you can say that we are running campaigns on Facebook, and they are like bringing us customers at like $4, let's say, and the Google is bringing us a customer for $6. So apparently the Facebook is bringing us a better customers, a lower cost, and Facebook is expensive for us. But in order to see the real value of the customers, we need to monitor them over the long period of time as well. Because if the customers which Facebook brought are just there to place one order or two order, then eventually they are not that helpful for the customer, for the business. And if Google is giving us $6 customer, which is taking for the longer period of time, then of course we will consider that as a healthy customer. Similarly, we are using different ratios like install to sign up ratio, sign up to first order ratio to see the health of our of growth initiatives. Similarly, we have different input matrices to detect the fraud, which is unfortunately a very common thing here in Pakistan. The second team I want to discuss briefly is our category team, which manages the inventory stock levels and inducts new SKUs. Again, for the output matrices, they have order, revenue, margin, average order value. But again, their core focus, we emphasize again and again to the category team, is the input matrices. So for the input metrics, they keep track of stock availability, stocking ratios, zero search results, like if someone lands on Grocer app and search something, if no results are found, we keep track of every such search and show them to the category team and have their incentives around that to minimize that. Similarly, we keep track on the new inductions. We have quarterly goals to induct like 300, 400, 1,000, 2,000 new products, and how they are performing in the sale. Similarly, we want to make sure that the inductions which category team is making into the catalog is not dead, or they are not slow-moving articles. So we closely monitor the stock cover days or stock rotation days, which eventually translates to a better usage of capital. And we don't want our capital to be stuck onto the warehouse shelves. Similarly, price competitiveness is an extremely important metrics for the category team, because our whole mission is to provide the best prices on the grocery. So they keep track of that as well on a regular basis. Similarly, the logistics team, they are responsible to deliver the orders from warehouse to customer, and they use AI and ML-based route planning. So every city, we have divided that into multiple zones, and then for each zone, our softwares build a very complicated, using the very complicated AI and ML like algorithms. They build clusters, and they suggest a route depending upon the traffic conditions. So the whole goal of the logistics team is to optimize the delivery and minimize the delivery cost by aggregating the maximum orders, because we don't deliver orders on bikes, we deliver orders on three-wheelers, or primarily now on four-wheelers. So improving the cost using the maximum, saving the fuel is very important for the logistics team. And for the output metrics, the logistics team keeps track of the on-time delivery, but the input metrics, again, which is more important for them, are the like handover to on-road time. So you can say like when an order is packed in the warehouse, it is delivered to the it is placed into this into the appropriate zone in warehouse, and then the logistics team comes in, they picks up the order, and then they moves out and delivers the order. So the amount of time they take in picking up all the orders and like placing in their vans is also closely monitored because it is again an input metric which improves the on-time delivery of the logistics team. Similarly, we don't want our logistics team to miss an item while on the delivery or damage. So again, we keep track of that those indices as well. So this is just a brief summary of how our teams are using the analytics. The second stage is we are using, as I've already alluded, we are using AI ML based recommendations in our applications. Like on the PDP, which is product detail page, we are showing similar products. On the search page, when you add an item to the cart, we show similar products to that on the like in a horizontal section. Similarly, on the home page, we are showing personalized user recommendations. All of these are powered by the AWS Personalized, and we integrated these things in December last year, and they resulted in almost 15% increase in the average order value, which is again a direct contribution to the earnings which Grocer app is having. And the third thing is we are empowering the brands. We sell our app real estate to the brands. Like we offer them banners, we offer them to position their products in the listing pages, we offer them to feature their products, get their products priority ranking in the search results. Similarly, all of these things are part of a bigger packages which we sell to the brands. And the brands can reach out to a curated audience, like user interest based, area based, category based. They can purchase our packages and reach out to our customers and sell their products. Similarly, they can find out their market share, their brand's market share in a given category, which is an extremely important information for a brand. And they can run surveys and then sampling activities. Again, all of these activities are paid activities, which are one of our revenue streams. Now, coming to the question, how do we store the data? Because as you have seen, we have almost a hockey curve business growth in the past 2 years, and it is extremely important to have a scalable infrastructure that captures every bit of data. And there should not be any compromise on the user experience. So if you are capturing every bit of data when customer is using the application, it translates to a very huge amounts of data, and it can potentially slow down the application. So we never want to do that. So how we are doing that? Just a quick summary. Cross-platform, we collect data from across the different platforms. On the left side, you can see the 1P data, which is our own data in our own ecosystem. The first thing is transactional data, which is relational database, and the application websites are directly saving the records on the RDS, which is AWS powered. And the second thing is app and web-based events. Like we get millions of events per day, and they are streamed using an ETL pipeline directly into the AWS Redshift, which is an AWS data warehousing solution. Similarly, we collect third-party data, like we collect Facebook ads data, Google ads data, Automate 360, which is a marketing platform. Again, we use all of these different marketing platforms and gather and capture all of their data. Google Search Console, attribution platforms. Attribution platforms are extremely important for us because we want to know, we don't want to rely on the data which Facebook is providing us or the Google is providing us, because sometimes they report like sort of fake data. Not every time, but sort of. Sometimes we don't want to rely only on the marketing platform. So we introduce a middleware, which you can say an attribution platform. So we collect all of these data into the Redshift again using an ETL pipeline, and then every source has its own data in a schema in data warehouse, which makes it very easy to merge it across the different sources. So like if we want to combine the real-time data, real our RDS data with some marketing data which we got from Facebook or attribution platform, it becomes very easy. So just to give an example how it helps us to solve the real world problems. So here is a question like find the N+1 3 retention of customers who installed the app using one-day view through attribution from Facebook and compare it with the same set of customers who installed using Google. So it's a very basic question which sometimes marketing team has to ask in order to find out the right kind of acquisition channels. And by having all of this data in AWS Redshift, it helps us answer such sort of questions. And the final part is how we are accessing this data. We are using three different platforms, three different tools to visualize our data. The first one is Google Data Studio. We have used it for almost 2 years, but like last year we abandoned it because as our team were scaling up, more and more people were accessing the reports and dashboards, and Google Data Studio was not able to handle the scale. So we left that and we shifted to the Redash, which is again a very powerful tool in building dashboards and reports. Like we have almost 100+ reports on Redash, which keeps on increasing every week. So all of our team and companies using the Redash right now. Similarly, we are also using the Tableau. It is primarily used by the BI team to deep dive into the most difficult questions, and then they present the final answers to the management. So that's it for today. I would like to answer any questions. Over to you, Zishan.
Thank you, Hassaan, for your deep presentation. Let's move on to the Q&A session with Hassaan. Okay, we have 5 to 6 questions. Let me select one for you. The first one is, we are looking to move analytics workloads to AWS. What is the best way to proceed?
So again, it depends what you guys are doing right now. Of course, AWS is very scalable and very powerful engine. I don't think you will ever regret moving to the AWS. But again, it all depends on the scale you are right now. Sometimes in the business, when you are at a very initial level, you need to solve some other problems before focusing too much on the analytics. So it again depends which stage you are, but the shift should not be very difficult. We have we started using the Redshift 1 year ago, and we built all these ETL pipelines and migrating data from RDS into the Redshift. So it was not very difficult, but again, it depends on which scale and which time you are right now.
Okay. The next one, given the saturation in online marketplaces, what would be the 3 successful differentiators for a startup to help it stand out and succeed? I think
so. It again depends.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. It again depends which market we are talking about. There are some markets which are already, there are too much players in that, and succeeding in that would need a very difficult strategy. So I would say if you can provide more details about the questions, I would be better able to answer.
Yeah, we can share it with you so that we can reply over the email as well. The next one is, providing data to everyone is so unsecure unless it is sample data. Can you briefly explain what type of data you share with everyone who asks for it?
So you see, by everyone, I mean everyone in the team. So we have very strict user permission levels in our data analytics. So a guy from the logistics teams cannot request data from the growth team or from the category team. So anyone who is requesting the data should have to get it, which is directly related to what he is doing on the floor. So that is the first thing. And the second thing is, there are some matrices which are like company level matrices, which are our North Star metrics, which we present in our monthly stand-up meetings to the whole company, that we definitely share with everyone. But otherwise, it is very specific to the team in which someone is working.
Okay. The another one, help us understand how you are using machine learning to predict buying behavior. If you are using an Amazon or AWS product on this front, please share your experience of the same.
Yeah, it is a very good question. We have been using machine learning and AI for the recommendations, but we have started using we have this currently in the plan to start using it for the demand forecast or the PO generation. But we haven't done that yet, but definitely it's in our pipeline, and it is something we have allocated resources on that as well. So hopefully it will be done in a few months.
Okay, the last one, who are AWS customers in Pakistan in general? I think let me respond on this one. The first one, if you specifically talk about the analytics workload or the AML, Grocer app is the one who is actually leading in Pakistan. The other one is Grana.com. So these are the more highlighted AWS customers in Pakistan. You can say the Pakistani startups who are actually leveraging those specific services. So I think that's it. Thank you, Hassaan, for your time again and for a good presentation.
Welcome. Thanks.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending today's session. We understand that many of you may have further questions later on. You may also want to have a one-on-one session to discuss specific requirements for your organization or your startup. What you have on the screen right now is a URL where you can request to book your slot for a one-on-one session with our AWS experts. This will be on a first come, first serve basis. So earlier you reach out to us, the earlier we can schedule a slot for you. I will also share the URL in the chat box for you for your convenience. So this concludes our today's webinar. We hope you had fun and we hope to see you soon at our future webinars. Again, for any questions, please reach out to us on the email address given on the screen. We hope you all stay safe and that you have a good day. Thank you.